Hey, welcome to episode 26 of Scar Bearers. I'm Chris DT Gordon. It is wonderful to have you here with me today. As always, a shout out to Nate Barron for that wonderful theme music. If you want your own tune to rock out to, please reach out to him at Nate Barron, Nateberan. Well, I checked. I don't have any new reviews yet that are really weird or interesting or funny. So I'm going to talk about my Hoth sweater. You see, this is based on the Battle of Hoth at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, episode 5. And I really like it because it reminds me of the Atari 2600 game, The Empire Strikes Back, where you're flying a snow speeder and you have to hit the AT-ATs or AT-ATs. I don't judge if you use one or the other phrase for it, in one blinking spot. And I remember playing that at an old friend's house while waiting for the school bus to arrive. So I really, really like this sweater. It's a little big on me, but that's okay. You know, when it's winter here in Minnesota, you have to layer up. So today I talk with my new friend. Actually, I've known her for a little while now, Dr. Mac, Melissa MacDonald, a fellow Michigander, as it turns out. And she tells me her story of how when she was younger, she had a learning disability and other issues that caused other people to say that she won't amount to much. And she has gone on to, well, let me put it this way. You heard me introduce her as Dr. Mac. So keep that in mind. Our sponsor today is Other Countries. Other Countries. They show us how you can still live in a functioning society without annoying election ads. All right. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Dr. Mac. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Scar Bearers. This is Chris DT Gordon. I am so happy that you're here with us today. I'm here with my new friend, Dr. Mac, Melissa MacDonald. How are you doing, Dr. Mac?
I'm doing quite well, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you very much. I'm reasonably excited as well. I love especially the fact that we are both trolls. And before people picture us with, long fluorescent green hair, I have to explain that we're both natives of Michigan, particularly the Lower Peninsula. And because we lived under the bridge, that's what makes us trolls. Now, I lived in the Flint area. Where did you live, Dr. Mac?
I went to high school in the Johannesburg-Lewiston area, which is the middle of nowhere, northern Lower Michigan, near Gaylord, which also might be nowhere for people. So it's about 2 hours east of Traverse City. So yes. I'll just start listing bigger cities until we get into the vicinity.
That's what I used to do too. But it's right on I-75. You have I believe the Ausable River.
Yes,
is in the area. We used to take band trips. We used to go. Our marching band used to go canoeing up there every year.
Yep, the Ausable River runs just south of Gaylord through Grayling.
Yes, exactly. So I am quite familiar with that area. But you are an unusual guest of mine because whereas most of our guests, myself included, have had physical or emotional issues happen to us while we've been alive, yours happened very early. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that, please?
So I was born with it. I am an auditory dyslexic with ADD and actually currently pursuing a diagnosis of autism. So, and it was something that I've been doing research in and realizing a lot of my slight idiosyncrasies with not being able to communicate well with people, not being able to explain, being too brutally honest. I am too honest with people and they get really, really upset with me and I don't understand why.
Mm,
and those kind of pieces. Growing up, I didn't talk until I was like 3 or 4. Like, I missed that milestone
mm,
when it came to speaking. I also didn't like to play games that I didn't make up the rules.
mm.
So it was one of those things, I had to have that control and create that environment, which didn't really work well when it came to going to school. Sorry, the podcat has made an appearance.
No worries. Well, I love me a good podcat. And so, not having that kind of control over your environment for any child sometimes can be a struggle. But hello, Kitty. But when you don't understand why you can't have control or how to deal with it, that can be a huge struggle.
Yeah, and it really
Imagine.
didn't become a big problem until I hit first grade. And first grade was the first time I experienced trying to learn how to read. And for most people, that's fairly simple skill. And for me, it was an absolute nightmare, to the point that 2 months into school, my mom was called into the office because the teacher wanted to inform them that she felt I was cheating on my math tests. I
Mm,
was the first one done, and I would get done so quickly that there was no possible way, because of how stupid a child I was, and that I would never be expected to make it out of I would barely make it out of high school, and I would never get above a C
mm.
going through school.
May I, through the astral plane, smack that teacher upside the head because as an educator myself, I, especially a special education teacher, I can't believe that someone would have that mindset. And so, retroactively, I want to apologize for that teacher's behavior.
In all honesty, I think it was the best thing that could have happened,
Mm,
because within 48 hours, my mom had pulled me from that school and moved me to a different school that was much more aware and educated on learning disabilities
mm,
and learning uh, neurodiverse individuals that need to have a different learning environment.
mm,
My first week there, they went, "You need to get her tested for dyslexia. That's your problem."
mm. And so, once you were tested, and they figured out the extent of the dyslexia, how did things change for you?
Well, I think one of the things is there's so many different forms of dyslexia. A lot of people think of inverting their letters or not being able to read, not being able to do math, any one of those. For me, mine was actually an auditory based.
Mm,
So when I was and this was one of the reasons why I had to control the rules of the game and people couldn't explain them to me. I would literally be sitting in a classroom and all I would hear is wah, 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 wah. Very similar to the Peanuts teacher. That's the best explanation I have. And even now, when I get into large groups where it's very, very loud, I struggle to pick up different voices. So a lot of times for me to cope, I was taught how to read lips. So I focus on what they're saying by looking at their mouth and getting that picture. So it gives me a picture to see, and then I can hear what they're saying,
mm.
which means wearing a mask right now, nightmare.
Oh, I bet that is a bit difficult for you.
It's a complete nightmare. And it's to the point where when I'm in a loud environment, people are wearing masks. I will say, "Hey, you have to speak slowly and clearly because I cannot understand what you're saying because I can't see what your mouth is doing."
Mm,
And people look at me like, "Seriously? You need this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, please just humor me." So it's one of those things that you don't think of things that are going to change and be challenged. But for me, I didn't learn to read until sixth grade.
Wow. That's just, I guess that's an illustration of how complex the mind is that, we think of think of learning disabilities, and sometimes we just lump them into, okay, you have this problem, or you have this problem, or you have this problem. But there's so much going on between our ears that it could be any number of, billions of things that could, affect someone in some way. And so, that is, it's very interesting to me that, of that situation. And I don't want to, downplay it by any means, because it's a struggle. It's a struggle for you, but it's fascinating.
Well, I think the thing is that currently right now in the US education system, it is not as customized to each individual student and each individual student's learning needs.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when you say a word, I'm guessing if I said the word horse, you see the letters HORSE. I see a horse, like 4 legs jumping over a fence. I see a horse. That doesn't help me spell.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't help me write. That doesn't help me read. When there are many words in between horse and maybe saddle that don't have pictures, I don't have a thing to look at. So when you have those connecting words that are some of the simplest words in the English language, and I can't put a picture to them, I don't have a way to read them. I don't have a way to spell them. I don't have a way to interpret them and understand what they are. I can speak it, but I'm speaking because I'm in a picture form in my brain, which makes having someone create a way of learning for me to actually learn it and then be able to take it back to the traditional American education system and fit in there, very challenging. Homework for me going through middle school and high school took hours and a lot of tears for me to do it, because especially being small town nowhere, Michigan, they didn't have a special education area of the school that met my needs.
Yeah.
They weren't able to accommodate. They could accommodate someone that was on a lower IQ, but when I had my IQ tested, I was in like the 150s, 160s. I just process things completely differently, which is why my mom was like, my daughter's not dumb. You're not teaching her. You're trying to teach them, and it's not making sense to her.
Yeah.
Which, it's frustrating. So between 5th and 6th grade, when I learned to read, I went to a program called 3D Learner. And what they did is they helped me create pictures by, one, taking clay and making the alphabet in clay. So I had a 3-dimensional object that I could manipulate in my brain. And then the other thing they did is they gave me a book of all the connecting words, and I had to draw a picture for those words.
I was kind of thinking if you were going to go that route, and especially with the horse, example. So I'm sorry, continue. But
oh yeah, it went there, and it was, oh my God, so much work just to learn those basic, simple words. But there was no way I was going to get through the rest of education, because the school I went to was Sunflower. That was 1st through 5th grade. And it was really geared towards hands-on, tactile, small class sizes. And we do crazy things like, they'd call, because I was born in Florida. I'm originally a Floridian. I moved to Michigan. I know.
Oh my,
I'm
I,
misrepresenting myself.
the whole world's changing now.
I know. So
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Anyway, I forgive you. Keep going.
it's okay. So we moved to Michigan when I was 13, but prior to that in Florida, like the small school I went to, there would be people at the beach who would call and be like, "Hey, there's manatees at the beach." We'd pack up the whole school and go do a marine biology field trip because we were 2
Wow.
blocks away. Like that was the type of school I went to. So it was very hands-on, very kinesthetic, which is where I thrived.
Mm-hmm.
Then once that only went to 5th grade though. So when I went to 6th grade, I was transferred to a very traditional Baptist Christian school,
Mm.
uniforms and all. And there, I remember one class period, it still chokes me up because of how angry I get because I was tortured. We were given a science quiz that was writing. Here's a question, answer the question. Okay. I have a 2nd grade spelling level now, maybe. Going through school, I needed a good spell check. Let's just say I live with spell check. And when spell check tells me the word's right, but I actually use the wrong word, that's where my husband comes in to fix things.
Oh,
He
okay.
reads everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote the quiz. I didn't worry about it. I knew I got everything right. Then the teacher went, "Okay, class, hand them in. We're now going to hand them back out. And we're going to peer grade."
Oh.
And I was like, "What? This has never happened before. I've never dealt with peer grading."
Ooh.
And this girl got my test, and every question she'd go, "So this is spelled wrong?" And like just every question. And at the end of class, I walked up and I went, "That was my paper, and this is never going to happen again." And he was like, "Well, just learn to spell better." And I was like, war. I mean, and this was probably a little bit of why I think I have autism. I don't back down. I get mad, and then I find a way to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
So I went home. I told my mom what happened. 1, my mother is the definition of a grizzly bear. She marched into that school and she went, "Here's how it's going to go." And from then on, I had a IEP. Is that the right?
Yes.
Okay. IEP, which was basically said no peer grading. I got extra time on tests and I was allowed to use spell check. And after that, I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, it just viscerally makes me mad thinking about it and thinking how many other kids struggle because of peer grading.
Yeah, and I don't want this to become a political conversation, but we want our kids to be the future, but we have to give them the tool that they need, and trying to force round pegs into square holes doesn't work, because like you're showing us, some of the brightest minds aren't going to fit into those holes. And in fact, it's, our system is basically archaic. It's built for a different time of history, and we just need to move on and become more adaptable to the child, and not have the child adapt to the program.
Which I had to adapt.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it worked out because I'm stubborn and I had parents that were 1,000% engaged. Because when I would go home and I'd be struggling with my homework, my mom or my dad would sit down and they'd help me. Mm-hmm. Now, math, no one ever had to help me with that.
Yeah.
No, that clicked in my brain. Science clicked in my brain. English, tears.
Oh, yeah, I can
just
imagine.
Tears. Writing papers to this day, writing my blogs for my stupid business, anxiety, pure unadulterated anxiety. There are still tears that happen, but I also know I have the resources using Grammarly. So I'll put my papers through Grammarly, which takes out some of the issues.
Mhm.
Then I send them to my husband, who then is like, wait, what are you? I don't think this is what you're wanting to say here, dear. I'm like, no, that wasn't it. Who then translates it. We call them Macisms.
Okay.
Translates the Macisms to English, and then I can put it out. But there are still times that I'll quickly have to post something and he'll go and read it after the fact. And he's like, honey, no. But I mean, I went through school, graduated 5th in my class in high school. So not too shabby.
Oh, congrats.
Got several academic scholarships for going to college. I went to Lake Superior State University up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Yep, Lakers. My brother's one.
Oh, heck yes. And I had half my tuition paid for by them because of academics. So definitely got above C's.
Mm-hmm.
I was an honor society member all through college and then became a chiropractor. So I went to a medical school program. So a lot of these kids that I see struggling, even my own students, when I see students struggling, I viscerally understand what they're dealing with. And I'm like, okay, I explained it this way. Why didn't that make sense? Oh, okay, what if I explain it this way? Does that help? So it's trying to find the explanation that best fits the student, not an explanation that the students have to figure out on their own.
Yeah. It's, that is obviously helpful, but it is an example of the empathy that we need to have in our everyday lives. And I think what you're displaying there is how we can make the world a better place. And, which is kind of a testament to this whole program, is using our struggles to help the world. And I commend you for that. Now, moving on after chiropractic school, how has your world changed? What have you found to be surprisingly easy, and what are still struggles? I know you described like blogs are hard for you, but what have you found that is surprisingly easy to come by, and what do you still struggle with?
So I now own my own chiropractic business, and I do all the social media for it. I run a couple podcasts. I do YouTube, TikTok. I do all the things. And being creative, very simple, very easy for me to come up with ideas and create the content, especially when it's in video form.
I love your Instagram videos, by the way. Very fun.
Yeah. A lot of those are my TikTok videos. Some are good, some are bad. I just try to make them educational and beneficial.
Take them all together and you have the facts of life, or videos.
Yeah. So I don't have any issues putting myself out there content-wise video. Writing, which every time I see a patient, I have to chart. Mm-hmm. And that chart becomes a part of their permanent health record if requested over the next 7 years. Mm-hmm. And creating that can be a struggle just because it requires me sitting there and typing and writing and telling a story. So for that, I use dictation software.
Okay.
So I just dictate what I need to say and then go back and quickly, and by I go back, have my husband go back and read through it and make sure that the dictation software actually understood what I was saying and used the right words. Because again, I don't see when if the word is close, I can't tell. And then the American language is stupid.
Yep.
Said with a lot of love, but it is stupid. There are too many words that are the same, spelled the same, mean different things. Lead, lead. Do you know how much a nightmare that is for a dyslexic going, how is it spelled? Why are these two words that look identical? Why? Why is that the case? And, or when things are spelled similarly but don't sound the same.
The OUGHs must be a nightmare for you.
I don't want to talk about that, but yes. Silent letters. Why? Why are silent letters a thing? The other night we were watching Jeopardy. And by watching, we weren't watching a current season, we were watching on Netflix.
All right.
And the category was misspellings. So it was a small chunk of text, a sentence, and one word was misspelled. And my husband would pause and then he would stare at me. And he would watch me have the internal panic of, I honestly can't tell which word is misspelled. And I, through that entire category, did not get a single one correct because I could not tell. I was guessing, but I had no idea. None. So don't ask me to proofread for spelling. That's all I have to say.
I will remember that.
It's a blessing and a curse. I like it. I like the fact that whenever there's a box that someone puts me in, I'm able to see a way out of it, around it, and create a new space. So I'm able to build and construct and make things in my mind and then produce them, versus being completely confined to a linear thought process that's simple, concise, and to the point. I can look at something and go, you're doing it this way. But if we did it this way, it'd be faster and more efficient. And they'll be like, well, did you even practice it? And I'm like, no, just trust me. This is how it's going to work. But that's how my mind works. And if I had listened to any one of the people, because there was more than just that first grade teacher. If I had listened to any of the teachers and adults in my life that said I couldn't be successful because I'm not smart enough, my learning disability is too disabling, I'm a business owner. I'm the team chiro of 2 different sports team, working on my 3rd team right now, just waiting to see what happens with this coronavirus thing.
Yeah.
Whether we have a season.
Teams?
Oh yes, the Minnesota Roller Derby.
Awesome.
It is the largest roller derby group here in Minnesota. They have 4 home teams, and then they have a nationally traveling professional team. And then we have River City Rhythms, a drum corps international marching band.
Oh, sweet.
And they compete across the Midwest, and this season was canceled, but I generally go on the road and travel with them from June to August.
Oh, wow. So does your husband come with you, or is it just you? So you guys have had a lot of time together this summer. Okay. I guess hence the podcast we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Well, so bless my husband, I have some weird idiosyncrasies with just habits, and I'm going to say tics or stims, which again, this is why I'm seeking a diagnosis of autism, but we generally only live in the same area for about a year or 2 before one of us leaves and goes somewhere else. And then we live apart for maybe a year or 2 and then come back together.
Oh,
this has been our habit for the last 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
So distance doesn't bother us. It actually works really well. So yes, this summer we've been spending a lot of time together, which actually works because he had just moved back from Duluth, where he had been for a year getting a master's degree.
Oh, wow. In what, may I ask?
Exercise physiology. So it's about to be the dream team chiro and strength and conditioning coach.
Awesome. That sounds great.
So at least that's the plan.
Okay.
Eventually.
Well, you are a testament to, you know, perseverance and, you know, this the kind of strength that we all wish to have. And I applaud you for all of that. I applaud your parents for you being the kind of parents they were, for allowing you to go through the struggle yet stepping in when they had to. I think all kids would be blessed to have those kinds of parents.
They were not going to let me fail unless I wanted to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, all growing up, I was obstinate as my mother. I was a stubborn, obstinate child. You'd tell me to do something, I would do the exact opposite. So every person that told me to fail just made me want to give them the middle finger and do it better than anything they could expect. So that was one thing. My parents ran into my first grade teacher shortly after I graduated with my doctorate. Mm-hmm. And they made sure to show her the picture and go, hey, just so you know, the child you said was dumb and wasn't going to make it out of high school. Yeah. It's Dr. MacDonald now.
Ooh. Well, that's so. While I'm not one who likes to relish in comeuppance. It's good that you had that opportunity to share that. Because I can imagine there are a lot of like you said, teary nights working on that work, and you made it worthwhile.
You get out of life what you put into it. Mm-hmm. And my mom always said, you can be whatever you want to be and we'll support you to get there. I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to get into medicine of some sort. I didn't know what my specialty necessarily was going to be when I started my bachelor's degree, but chiropractic has really been one of the best fields because, again, I'm a good hands-on learner. What better profession to be in than chiropractic, where I treat with my hands.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, you are in the exactly what part of the Twin Cities?
I am in Edina, Minnesota.
Okay. Every day I need attention. Sorry, I had to say that.
Oh, it's okay. We like cake there.
Very cool.
Little Minnesota humor for
yes,
all the listeners.
Yeah, and now that we have to go without having the state fair, we have to. I know, sad face.
Well, so in all honesty, I've never actually been to the Minnesota State Fair.
What? I'm not a huge fan goer. My father-in-law has gone every year since practically birth. Ever since he's been in the Twin Cities, he's gone, and so he's kind of going through withdrawal. But they have good concerts. Last year, I met Weird Al.
Oh, that's cool.
That is, yeah, it was pretty sweet.
No, the thing we go to is the Minnesota Renaissance Festival.
Oh, yes. Huzzah.
Huzzah. We are the type of people that go that have full costumes.
As am I. Next year we should schedule up. I actually go with my school.
Ooh.
Yeah, on Festival Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, Minnesota Virtual Academy. We'll meet there, and I'll have my Cavalier hat and my double-breasted velvet corduroy vest. I actually worked at a Renaissance Festival in Michigan, Holly Grove, for a year.
Oh,
yeah. I was a hawker for face painting. Painting, rock this way. Come get your face painted.
Awesome.
Yes.
Nah, we typically go. This is going to be surprising for everyone. We go on Highland Weekend.
Oh, nice.
Because why wouldn't the Scots go and watch the great Scottish Highlands?
Kebatos.
Oh, I love the Scottish Highland Games. It's our favorite, but we also like to go then to where they have the event specific uh sellers, so we can get like the right tartan, the right
Mhm.
clan
Oh, that's
items.
cool.
Because yes, my husband, our last name is MacDonald Clan Ranald,
Oh,
so he's very Scottish.
I can imagine so. Yeah. Um, yeah, I have to get it. Yeah, I have to go up there and get a kilt sometime. I have lederhosen, because I live in New Ulm, but yeah, I'm going to scare up some a kilt sometime because I tracing back. Gordon is more Scottish than Irish, and so
My
um,
husband refuses to buy one of the kilts there.
oh yeah,
He's a traditionalist,
mm-hmm.
so his kilt is like 10 yards of
Oh,
fabric that
all right,
he hand folds and
mm,
then rolls himself in.
gotcha.
It's annoying. It takes forever. I'm like, you could get this pre-made right turn. He's like, no. Okay. But I mean, that's what's fun is now we're adults. Now I don't have to conform to societal norms. I can be my little weird self and it's fine.
Exactly. That's right. I mean, kids think they have it made. Wait till you're an adult and you can afford your own cosplay. Yes,
I make
exactly.
adult money so I can buy stupid things.
Oh, yeah, you're talking to a guy who dressed up as One Punch Man and ran in a Halloween 5K. I had one person recognize me, and he goes, "Nice costume." And I said, "All right, who am I?" Expecting him to say something. I didn't know what he expected to say. He goes, "Saitama." Like, yes, thank you.
So all you need is one
Yes,
person
One Punch.
get the
Yeah,
reference and then
exactly. It makes it all the while. Yeah, it makes it worth it. So, Dr. Mack, if you were to give someone a piece of advice, and you've given us a lot over this conversation, but if someone were to take at least one nugget of wisdom from you today, what would that be?
if there is something in the world that you absolutely want to, have to, need to do, and it will neither harm yourself or someone else, do it. No matter how many people, how many naysayers, how many people say you can't, do it. Because the only person holding you back is yourself.
I wholeheartedly agree. That's awesome advice. Now, where can people find you?
They can find me at Instagram at MacP_clinic, on Facebook at Mobility Agility Chiropractic Performance, which is the same name of my YouTube channel. And I have my own podcast, Mac Performance, which in the future will have Chris on it.
Yay, me. And so, my final question, which everyone wants to know, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Plesiosaur, which is not
And
technically a dinosaur, but who cares? It's mine.
yeah, and you did put a name to yours. It's a plesiosaur is famous for being whom?
The Loch Ness Monster. It's
Of course,
Nessie.
of course, a Scottish dinosaur. What would I expect?
Are you?
Exactly.
But there's been an accused plesiosaur of being Champ from Lake Champlain
Champlain.
here
Yeah,
in the U.S.
that is true. That is true. Well, Dr. Mack, it's been a pleasure once again to chat with you. I look forward to seeing your further exploits on the interwebs, and I am serious. Sometime we have to meet up either at the Renaissance Festival, or you can come down here to New Ulm to one of our many festivals when it's safe to do so.
Oh, I look forward to it and absolutely will.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and you have a great day.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Hey, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Mack. If you want to reach out to her, you can find her at macperformanceclinic.com. She also has an Instagram, which is at MACP underscore clinic. And then there's Linktree, and that is linktr.ee/MACP_clinic. If you want to reach out to me to find out what I am doing as a professional speaker, you can find me at my website, chrisdtgordon.com. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Chris DT Gordon. And then there's always the podcast. I wish there was a spotcast. Ooh, that'll feel good right now. Anyway, the podcast, Scarbears. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, lots of the podcast places. I have no idea where the accent came from. All right. Thanks a lot for joining me. Please have a great day. Remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.